Yes, indeed. We are live on KEXP at home. My name is Larry Mizell Jr., afternoon show DJ. So happy to be joined today by Tune Yards, Merrill Garbus, Nate Brenner. How are you doing?
Very, very well. It's good to see your face.
Well, it's good to see y'all's.
Doing great, and so happy to be here, Larry.
Right on. You guys at home?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Look at those houseplants behind us.
I see those plants looking lush. You in Oakland?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right on.
Kind of near Fruitvale Ave, a bit east from downtown.
Okay, right on. I was just thinking about the last record of yours I heard. Well, it was a score for Sorry to Bother You, the film by Boots Riley, of course, Oakland fixture, icon. How did you guys come to work together? I'm curious.
Boots knew about our music somehow. He is on top of everything, including music of all sorts. So I remember, I think that the Coup opened for Erykah Badu. Am I right about that? At the Fox Theater. And we met there. He introduced himself. And then he hit me up really early in the process of Sorry to Bother You. And it was just words on a page. And he was trying to get it together. And we met up, and he said, this movie's going to get made. And I was kind of like, like, after having read the screenplay, I was like, this is too cool for anyone to ever make it. But I just, of course, went along for the ride and started demoing some stuff. And then when it became a little bit more real, then Nate and I started working, really solidly on it together.
Excellent. Right on. Well, that brings us to your latest record, Sketchy. What is sketchy? Who's sketchy?
A lot of things,
I gotta ask, because I love that word.
I was gonna say it's interesting doing interviews with like European journalists who they're really like, but really, what does it mean? And thinking about how we use it here. So yes, I mean, sketchy in a lot of ways. I guess I like both the literal meaning, like you can barely, it's just an outline. You can't really see what's there, which is how I personally feel about this time. There's so many unknowns. And then I think for me, a lot of this is, in the process of making the last album and doing my own whiteness work, of this constant need to suspect myself as a white woman. And I think I was trying to get more comfortable with that's just what I'm going to need to do for the rest of my life, because that's undoing white supremacy in me and seeing how I have grown up in a system that I need to dismantle in myself. So sketchy felt like, yeah, that's the word. And it came from a sketchbook that I was writing all these lyrics in, and it said sketch on the front, and I just added a Y. But it really felt like maybe that's it's a way of making fun of myself a little bit in this work that's actually terribly not funny at all.
Absolutely. And, you mentioned that work, and you've talked about that work extensively and been so transparent about that process and thinking about that throughout your career, which I'm very grateful for, and love that there's been space for that in the sphere of music. I feel like this record kind of represents you getting to bring more joy back into the mix after maybe like the paralyzing effects of relentless self-analysis. Does that sound about right?
Can I quote you on that? That's a great way to put it.
Feel free. By all means.
Yes, that's a perfect way to put it. Yeah.
What brought you there?
Well, Nate helped. I think that, Nate is, he helped me. I mean, we were both reading these two books, right? Like the Questlove Creative Quest book and the Beastie Boys, the large kind of retrospective book of their careers. I think that when, I feel like Nate, I'll just talk about you while you're sitting next to me, and you can answer if I say something wrong. But I feel like you always make music. You're always at the studio he's got his own project, Natronics, that he works on when we're not doing Tune-Yard stuff, and just this constant musical adventuring. And I came into music not having a lot of discipline around it, but just getting back into what's fun about making music together. And I think we finally had this opportunity to make a record in our own space and not have to go into a studio where it felt more formal and more pressured. And so we were able to just, to have fun together.
That sound right, Nate?
Yeah, I think, and I guess just feeling the actual joy of making music and allowing, like, trying to just encourage Merrill to be okay with that. Like, it's okay to, because she's so, just an incredible person that's always examining herself, and obviously has helped me and so many other people become aware of our own, the way white supremacy just is in our lives, that we, especially me as a white man, like, might have not even noticed it. But at the same time, I was also wanting to encourage her to be kind to her body, sing, and, just kind of take pleasure in the joys of life at the same time, instead of, being sort of paralyzed by guilt and stuff.
Absolutely. I think that's a very, very important lesson to have out there in these times when I think a lot of people are kind of suffering that, like, kind of vapor lock from analysis and that work that is very crucial to us advancing and not burning to the ground.
Yes.
But I think a lot of people forget to bring joy and to tap in to their bodies, and all that ends up serving white supremacy's directives in the end. So I'm really glad to hear that.
Totally. Thanks.
Thanks.
And thank you.
For sure. I'm curious, because you've talked a lot about this and the workshops and the work you've done. And you've kind of called yourself out for, like, appropriation and stuff like that. Where do you see the line between inspiration and appropriation?
That's a good question. And I think, lately I've been asking myself, maybe a more applicable question is accountability. Like, where do I stay accountable? Because I think we get lost in these debates. Which is another tenet of white supremacy, is just debate it to death.
Yeah.
And there's
the discourse.
and instead of acknowledging people's feelings, to see, because people, a lot of particularly other white people will say, have you really got, who's called you out? Have you gotten called out? It's kind of this, like, what's wrong? Like, what's wrong? And what do I do to not do it? And that's, like, a really top level of, like, information that they really want to know. And I feel like, because people of color are not a monolith, that there are going to be different experiences of our shows. And I've seen on Twitter, that was the most appropriative set I've ever seen. And I've seen, the opposite of that, and people feeling really grateful that I'm singing a song about a white woman's voice. And it's not, so then my question is, how do I keep listening, and how do I stay accountable? And so I think that's money. I think that's our work to always be giving money, and by which I mean a percentage of the money we make on music. And then I also think it's having, being open to these conversations, and being open and training ourselves, practicing receiving feedback so that the feedback doesn't just become an excuse to get defensive, or a Twitter argument, a social media battle, but instead as a way to say, oh, give, wow, how generous that is. And even I'm noticing that I'm more practiced in receiving rage too. And that's another, if you look on the list of like white fragility, like here's what white fragility looks like. A lot of it has to do with like, not being able to receive anger, and hear it and not take it on and not take it personally, but to really hear it for what it is, which is really a generous display of emotion and honesty and passion most of the time.
Absolutely. There are these different cultural understandings about expressing of emotions and pitches and volumes of voice and everything.
Yes.
That have, affected us all. So
Yeah.
thank you for all the analysis and work that you put into it. Let's get into this fantastic session that you guys recorded. Tell me real quick, where did you record it?
A tiny telephone in Oakland.
Right on. Okay, we're live on KEXP at home with Tune Yards.
Woohoo! trees are in the meadow. The cars are in the trees. The people aren't anywhere to be found. Better take one of these. The trees are in the meadow. The cars are in the pigs. The people aren't anywhere to be found. The green look into my eyes. I know you, honey. Look into my eyes. I see you, honey. Look into my eyes. I know it, honey. Look into my eyes. Quiet, quiet. Look into my eyes. Oh, I know you, honey. Look into my eyes. I know you, honey. Look into my eyes. Oh, you're hypnotized, hypnotized, hypnotized. Silent as a citizen. City streets of ghosts and past. They used to laugh and dance here until the spell was cast. Oh, look into my eyes. I know you, honey. Look into my eyes. I see you, honey. Look into my eyes. I know it, honey. Look into my eyes. Quiet, quiet. Look into my eyes. Oh, I know you, honey. Look into my eyes. I know you, honey. Look into my eyes. Oh, you're hypnotized, hypnotized. You got it again. 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 Don't got it, honey. Don't got it. Don't got it. Don't got it. Don't got it again. You got it again. Don't got it, honey. Don't got it, honey. Don't got it. That mirror draws down your head. You think the image is real. Your tears are melting your face, but you forgot how to feel. Remember your lungs. Remember your lungs. Remember your lungs. Remember your lungs. The weight of your bones. Remember your lungs. Wake up and look into my eyes. Look into my eyes. Look into my
We are live on KEXP at home. I'm here with Tune Yards.
Hello.
Fantastic. Loving what you guys recorded. Thank you for doing that and for taking the time to be here today.
Our pleasure. We wish we could be there in person, of course.
I had a question about Hold Yourself. I've played that song a bunch on the air, and
Thank you.
absolutely, great song. More than one listener has written in to say that song like gutted me. made me cry. But there was one piece of feedback I got from my partner, actually. She said, "Is this a cover of that that Marlo Thomas and Harry Belafonte song?"
Whoa, from Free to Be You and Me?
Exactly. Oh. Parents are people. And when I listened to it, and I was like, oh, wow. I wonder if some of that is, inspired by that. So I had to ask you about that record.
I mean, I'm blushing because my life might as well be that record.
Oh, wow. Right on.
But you know what? I actually hadn't really drawn that exact comparison. Parents are people, right?
Right.
People with children. Oh my gosh. Wow. See, there you go. Is it appropriation or inspiration?
Yeah. You pulled it from the air, from your experience and listening, which is pretty hip hop too,
Right. Okay.
So where's that line?
Right.
All I know is that meant something to her when she heard it. She said, "Oh, wow, I used to love that record. That's such a crucial, cool record," and doing the history on that and seeing it was from the Ms. Magazine Foundation that put that record out.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally grew up on that record and probably, I mean, there's a lot of Tune Yards that kind of hovers in children's art, a lot of Nicky Knack was really influenced by Pee-wee's Playhouse and these to me the things that felt like really sophisticated art for kids when I was growing up, that in retrospect I have even more respect for it and for putting those songs. I mean, there's a song Sisters and Brothers on the Free to Be You and Me record that's like a full, I mean, it's not like songs for children, it's like a full band, sisters and brothers, brother. I mean, like the real deal, a record, Oh,
there's some jams on that record, for sure.
Yeah. So so I've always, that makes a lot of sense. And Hold Yourself makes me cry and made me cry the entire time, so much that I would be like, I gotta finish this freaking song because I can't weep in the studio anymore.
Wow. Does that make it hard to perform?
We shall see. It hasn't happened yet.
Speaking of performance, I know that there's some songs you don't do anymore. How do you look back on that work now?
That's a good question. I mean, I think I'm speaking again because I think it's mostly been my choice. I think that's pretty natural for most musicians. There's just stuff that doesn't feel right anymore. And for me in particular, our song Doorstep, it just, at the time that was the best I could do. That was my best attempt to try to shed light on what was happening around here in Oakland. And trying to, it was a good, my intention was good and the impact didn't feel right when I understood what I was doing, trying to understand an experience that I could never understand. So that in particular, and I would say, a couple, from the first record that, She's Not Jamaican, that does not feel appropriate for me to sing anymore. At the time, it felt like me grappling with, why am I a white woman being so influenced by dance hall music and what's up with this? And now it just doesn't feel at all appropriate to have that be what we present to people.
Right on. Well, thank you for sharing that. I really appreciate, again, the measure of accountability that you prioritize in your art and in the analysis of it. Speaking of April Lock, sorry.
I mean, welcome to my brain.
Yeah. I think you touched on this earlier, kind of when people are like, what did you do to, did you get canceled and all that stuff? Your practice of accountability and being able to talk about, maybe missteps or I think that's really important, because I think people more want to just be perfect in their movements and don't want to affect their want anything to go on their permanent record, if you will.
Right.
And you have to be willing to mess up, because that's how you're able to be accountable.
Yeah.
And I think there's so many people, but also organizations that are doing this work and trying to grapple with that right now.
Yeah. Yeah. In the art world, a lot too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Is that a facet of work you've ever considered?
What the accountability work for
Yeah.
other people?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. We're drawing people in. We're drawing other white musicians into this work pretty intentionally, but also, I guess, I feel like modeling, I think perfectionism is probably on that. Yes, I know it's on the list of tenets of white supremacy as well. So when we remember that, and also we grapple with cancel culture and creating the culture that we actually want to live in. I don't want to live in cancel culture. It's just not, that's not the way that humans work. Humans mess up. Humans grow and evolve. And the meditation work that we do, I think, has really helped me, because that's part of, letting go of this attachment to myself and to how I look to other people. It gets me into a deeper sense of belonging instead of a fear-based sense of belonging. But so I guess that's to say I would much rather lead by example, I guess, than say I'm some kind of authority in how other people should be accountable, but just to kind of model, hey, let's do this together and let's see, oh, that's where I could have done better. And it, and it's scary, sure, but I really think so far the feedback that I've gotten is generally like, thanks for being imperfect in front of us. And how blessed are we that we have this career that now people have seen us over more than a decade change, and that's musically as well, that we've gotten. I'd like to think this is our best album because we're getting better, but that people see us grow and change in public is part of the gift of doing this too.
Huge. Thank you. I wanted to ask about the song Nowhere Man. I think that was the first single.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Another fantastic record. We played a lot over here. I was hoping you would explore the themes of that record.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was... Sorry, I got to take this abortion question, Nate.
Please.
A friend of mine texted me on my way to the studio. When I got to the studio, I must have seen, she said, "Have you seen this expletive word?" And I looked up, and it was the abortion ban being signed into law in Alabama, I believe. And I guess that it was a good song to. Speaking of rage, but just that it's not, I think using the energy of rage felt really useful. And there's certainly a lot of that song that I could turn on myself, like, again, to say, I don't even know. I've been defining myself as a woman by what Jesus and Dylan say about women, to see that even in myself, I have this, internalized misogyny, say, or just internalized, two-dimensional story of what a woman is. But it was really useful to have this impetus to kind of be so rageful that it feels like we're going backwards in time, and that women's bodies are still not our own. That was just, it ended up being a super useful energy with which to spit out some lyrics.
Mm-hmm. That puts me in mind of somebody you've talked about, Yoko Ono,
mm-hmm.
and how adept she was at using rage.
Yeah, and noise,
Yeah.
rage and ugliness, and yeah, in all wielding all of that power.
Let's get into some of the powerful music that you recorded for this great session off of your newest album, Sketchy. This is Tune Yards live on KEXP at home. We are live on KEXP at home. I'm here with Tune Yards, and what a great session. Thank you again.
Thank you again.
Are you, I know probably the answer to this question. You recorded most of that pre-pandemic, if I'm not mistaken. That is to say your album. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yep, all of it. All of it recorded except for the saxophone on Hold Yourself, which was done by Matt Nelson in an empty wine shop in New York City.
Wow. Well, got to get creative. I mean, this is how we've pivoted with the sessions.
Exactly, yep.
How are you thinking about, obviously the rollout and tour and all the things that normally happen are either not happening or happening very differently. How are you imagining it? How are you thinking about it in this time?
I'll just go first and say I'm thinking how amazing it is to be able to enjoy everything without being sleep deprived and constantly thinking about what's next.
Yeah. Yeah. Nate's been helping me think of the benefits of not being on tour.
Right.
Instead of lingering in the wanting to be out there again. Yeah, I really think we're going to probably offer people way more online, even though it, in a lot of ways it feels like things are opening up, but I think we'll still want to stay virtually connected that way. And I think even if fans in certain places can come out, there's, we were just talking to friends in Belgium and they're shut down again. So I think that's a new thing for us, is to offer creative, streamable stuff.
Mm-hmm. Right on. I've got to ask about a song that you did for the 4AD compilation that's coming out. The cover of one of my favorite songs of all time, one of my favorite bands of all time.
Yeah.
You did a fantastic cover of Cannonball by the Breeders. Can we talk about that for a second?
Do we pass your test if it's one of your favorite songs of all time?
Y'all were already good, but when I saw that you were doing Cannonball, I was already hyped because I saw there was a new Breeders song covering His Name Is Alive on that record. But then I saw you guys are covering Cannonball. And then I got to hear it, and I was just, you really captured like Kim's abandon and the noisiness. And I think I even saw in that session that you recorded, you had like that other mic. It kind of reminded me of Kim's setup that I've seen her do, where she does the 1, 2, 2 thing.
Yeah, the feedback.
That seems such a natural fit.
I'm so glad you think so. Yeah, I couldn't believe that, because, you're probably a little young for that song, yeah? For me, I listened to that song over and over and over again as a teenager. But yeah, I couldn't believe that another band hadn't picked it, because I was like, it's almost too obvious.
Right. Did you hear any feedback from any deals?
I saw a tweet by Kelly Deal. Someone forwarded it to me. I'm off social media a lot for my mental health.
Smart.
But someone was like, you should probably see Kelly Deal saying, "Congrats, Tune Yards," or something like that. Yes, very sweet.
That is very sweet. Wow, right on. You mentioned being off social media for mental health. I'm doing a bit of that myself, or I'm trying to as much as possible.
Yeah.
How has that benefited you?
You're probably, Nate might be off it a little more than me.
I'm not off it more. We're probably, it's like, it's so amazing that I don't know why I go back on. Like, I'll be like, okay, I'll take a week off, but then I always kind of like go back. So I think it's helpful that we're releasing an album to be on, but maybe not. I don't know. I'm still kind of trying to work it all out, honestly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel it.
Yeah. I think it's part of that, creating the culture that we want. And I think it's really important that there are people that, if people don't want to be on there, that they're not on there. I think that there's something really, that capitalism does that to us, where we feel, because that's what it is. It's a marketplace, and it's social, but when we go on there, we're selling stuff, and it's helped me to kind of get clear about what I'm doing online. This is when I'm selling stuff. This is when I'm attracting attention of people who I know like our product or would like our product. This sounds crass, but like that way I'm not going on there for my self-esteem. I'm not going on there to feel better about myself, to hear positive feedback. As soon as I go down that loop, it's just really dangerous.
Absolutely. I think that we've come to really prize the conversations and discourse that social media has facilitated, but I don't always see people being totally honest and cognizant about the fact that we don't control these things, and they actually serve to control us in different ways. They're and white supremacy, of course, is a huge part of that. I mean, you see who doesn't get kicked off of these platforms for hate speech and things like that. So,
yes. Yeah.
It's really important to stay conscious of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And confusing because there's so much really important organizing that's happening online too, of course. But I still think, I've been trying to just follow a couple people or organizations that I really trust and just really put containers around things. This is stuff that I trust I'm going to set a timer and I'm not going to be on Twitter for more than 10 minutes or whatever it is. But anything to kind of, acknowledge it. It's like we're separating from our bodies and our physical experiences of things more at a time when I think we really need to be doubling down on feeling. So that's what when I find myself numb, that's when it's time to, way before I go numb is when I'm supposed to get off social media.
Absolutely. I think that's really well put, the way it kind of separates. We separate on, when using it, that phenomenon of typing out LOL or whatever to signify you're laughing or smiling, but you're not laughing or smiling, you're stone-faced.
Are you really LOLing? Are you?
Right. And that's such a disconnect there that's profound.
Yeah.
I think people just kind of laugh that off, but like, that's real. What if if that becomes an organ of your body, outside of yourself that's controlled by, I won't get tinfoil hat out here. I know y'all feel me.
We do. And even just laughing out loud, actually now, it feels so good.
Right. Absolutely.
I feel better. Thanks.
That's right. Well, thank y'all for all the feelings that come in your music, all the honesty and accountability that is there, all the joy and fun that is in your newest record, Sketchy. Thank you for joining us today. I appreciate you both so much.
Thank you.
Our pleasure. Thank you so much, Larry.
Absolutely. Hope to see you in this studio in the future.
Me too.
In a shining future sometime.
Yeah. Thanks.
Until then, y'all have a great day.
Bye.
You too. You too. Be well.
You
All
too.
right.
Thank
Live.
you.
Thank you. Live on KEXP at home. This has been Tune Yards. This is KEXP.
I mean, I'm having the best time I've had in a year and a half or more.
Playing with people today.
This is like really mind-blowing. Remember when we used to do this all the time? I shall never take it for granted ever again.
Discover new music at KEXP.org.